to bring about the change that we need, then we have to understand what change is. We can't be fooled. Because John McCain, listen, I've been talking about change since this campaign started. Some of you were involved. I talked about change when we were up. I talked about change when we were down. But now suddenly John McCain and his running mate Sarah Palin, they're out there saying, we're for change. We're for change too. Well, I'm glad that they now agree with me that we've got to change America. But let's be absolutely clear about what change means. Change isn't just a word. Let's describe specifically what change is. When John McCain says he wants to continue the Bush tax cuts for the wealthiest Americans and wants to provide hundreds of billions of dollars of new tax breaks to some of the wealthiest corporations in America, including ExxonMobil and oil companies getting $4 billion worth of tax breaks. That's not change. When his tax plan leaves 100 million Americans with no relief, not a dime's worth of tax relief, that's not change. That's the same old Bush economics. Let me tell you what change is. What I've said is 95% of working families in America, 95% of working families here in New Hampshire, they will get a tax cut under an Obama presidency. A tax cut. We're going to put more money in your pocket so you can deal with rising costs of home heating oil and rising costs of gasoline and rising costs of food, and maybe save a little bit so you can watch your child someday graduate from college, and you will have saved the money for it, and you'll be able to retire with some dignity and some respect. And we'll say to senior citizens, you don't have to pay taxes on your Social Security if you make less than $50,000, because you need a break too. That's what changes New Hampshire. So don't believe these ads that go around saying Obama's going to raise taxes, because the truth is I provide 3 times the amount of middle-class tax relief than John McCain does. Don't take my word for it. Some Republican analysts have said the same thing. So those ads are dishonest, they are untruthful, and they're not the kind of change that we need. Let me explain on health care what change is not. John McCain has basically the same health care plan that George Bush does. What he says is, we are going to start taxing the health benefits that you get from your employer. We're going to eliminate the tax deduction, which means employers are going to be less likely to provide you health care. Now, what McCain says is he's going to give you a $5,000 credit. Here's the only problem. Health care may cost $12,000 or $14,000. And if you have a pre-existing condition, or if you're an older American, if you're not healthy or wealthy, then good luck trying to get health insurance from your insurer if you're on your own. That's not the change we need. That's more of the same. So what I said is this: we are going to make sure that we work with your employer to provide you health care and lower your premiums. And if you don't have health care, you can get the same health care that a member of Congress gets for themselves. And we are not going to wait 20 years from now to do it, or 10 years from now to do it. We're going to do it by the end of my first term as president. That's the change that you need, New Hampshire. On education, John McCain doesn't have any ideas for education. His own people admit it. The only thing he does is he trots out the old thing about we're going to give vouchers to everybody. He has no commitment to public schools in America. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to invest in early childhood education to close the achievement gap. We are going to pay teachers higher salaries and give them more support. We're going to hold our schools more accountable, but we're going to change No Child Left Behind because we're tired of seeing the money left behind for No Child Left Behind. And we are going to say to the young people in America, if you put some time into community service, working in an underserved hospital, working in a veterans home, working in an underserved school, joining the Peace Corps, joining our military, we are going to make sure that you can afford to go to college. We will help pay your way. That's what change is. Change is having an honest debate about energy and actually getting something done. John McCain and I actually agreed on something. He said a while back, he said, the reason we haven't had any serious energy policy, the reason we actually import more oil now than we did 30 years ago from foreign countries is because we've had politicians who are just doing the bidding of special interests in Washington and not getting serious about the problem. I agree. Here's the only thing he left out. He's been there 26 of those 30 years. And he hasn't done anything serious about it. He said no to alternative energy, no to biofuels. We're going to say yes to a new energy policy in this country. We are going to set a goal. The same way John F. Kennedy said we're going to the moon in 10 years, we are going to end our dependence on Middle Eastern oil in 10 years' time. We can do it. And we're going to invest in the new cars of the future and hybrids and electric cars built not in Japan or South Korea, but right here in the United States of America. We're going to invest billions in research and development around solar and wind and biodiesel and hydrofuels. We are going to build a new electricity grid in this country. We are going to rebuild our energy infrastructure to make sure that our homes are more efficient and our cars are more efficient. And we are going to send a message to the oil companies, yes, we need to increase production here in the United States. And we can look at offshore drilling as an aspect of our challenge, but understand we only have 3 to 4% of the world's oil reserves, and we use 25% of the world's oil. So when you see at the Republican convention them shouting, drill, baby, drill, that's not the slogan for a 21st century America. We want to create a new energy policy that actually leads us into the 21st century and create 5 million jobs that can't be exported and pay good wages right here in New Hampshire and right here in the United States. We need to rebuild our infrastructure, our roads, our bridges, but also our broadband lines. Also high-speed rail. And if people tell you that we can't do it, you just remind them we're spending $10 billion a month in Iraq while Iraq has a surplus of $79 billion.